Yeah.
So
They were on the road.
we just got the days and went up, we're back, went up.
How was that?
Yeah, well, I tried it when I divorced the first time.
So
And
it was like two trips in one because they couldn't get together. I said, I will just stop.
I took the left leg. And I
Going on with Dave?
was like squeeze
Yeah, but-
vacations.
No farm enough to work on the
I got
farm.
new clubs now and I'm ready to try it again.
I never thought you'd be a. I thought you'd do anything.
This weather's awesome, isn't it?
It is.
I know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it while it lasts.
Fort Jefferson.
I am laying by the pool tomorrow. That's my game plan for the poolside.
Well, he prepared himself. He had the property. His wife did it.
That lived there because he got blown there from some island and during a hurricane, like a hurricane. It was incredible, man. We're sitting there, we're walking around the fort, and we went on like a trip where they like give you snorkel equipment, and there's people snorkeling, and I looked, and there's this alligator like 20 or crocodile like 20 feet from these people. It was unbelievable. So I started calling to them and everything. They had no idea. They went just like just like this. Dennis got pictures of it. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. This crocodile was 10 feet long. Swear to God. It was incredible. But I guess you can camp out there. I didn't know that. You can actually camp on Fort Jefferson. It's awesome. Catch your own fish and eat them.
The tongue going. Nope. Ain't I dope? Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Right.
This shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, first part of the hour.
I mean,
You just can't respond.
okay.
We have to do ethics training every year now. Just mandatory. I thought if we were gone when they start that. 4 hours every year, same thing. Leaking that money personally.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And he lives with him 24 hours a day.
One of the best dogs we've ever had. That's how good that team is. When I say dog, I mean dog and handler.
Did he ever expect to do that?
Huh?
Did he ever expect to be the canine unit when he?
He's always wanted it.
Look at him, he's looking right at me, see? He's looking right at me. See that? He's looking right at me.
Yeah.
Because I don't look at them in the face.
See, and that's what they sense. Dogs sense it like, they do. They sense like
Mark,
people that don't like them, they sense that.
ready? Okay. I now call to order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, April 19th, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our commission meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor Alahouzes,
Here.
Vice Mayor Terapany.
Here.
Commissioner Banther.
Here.
Commissioner Sieber is absent and excused. Commissioner Slattery.
Here.
Tonight's invocation will be given by Reverend Pastor Kurt Snair from St. Timothy's. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The Lord be with you. Creator God, we give you thanks for the gift of this day. We give you thanks for this beautiful city you have allowed us to be a part of. We ask that you would help us all to be good stewards. May you bless all who live in our city. And we ask your blessing upon our commissioners, our leaders, our officers, those who are called to serve us in leadership. May you guide them this day that your will might be done. We ask all of this in the name of the Most High God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. We now go to the public comments on the items will not be discussed this evening. Please state your name, your address for the record, and you'll be given 4 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Anita Protus, 901 Bay Shore Drive. We have a beautiful development going on behind us on Bay Shore. It's going to be a credit to the community. But the concern is gopher turtles. When they came before the Planning and Zoning Board and when they had their public hearings, those of us from the neighborhood who attended asked about the gopher turtles. And they said they would go by state regulations, have a count, and remove them. Well, all the land has been cleared of the trees and the brush. Beautiful property back there, up high, very gorgeous. But the problem is, I guess about 4, maybe 5 weeks ago, 2 gopher turtles coming up where they're going to put the road. Some young children, young boys were there, and I told them to go get my garden gloves and removed them to my property over the fencing that they had for environment. Since then, I have seen 3 other ones coming up trying to get across to where my property is because that's where the brush is. During the hearings and in front of the Planning and Zoning Board, when we asked about the removal and how many do they see in the count, was told, well, if we don't get them all, they get buried. That bothers me. Endangered species. I cannot find out from the city here, the planning department or anywhere, a report from the state that the city should have on how many have been removed and how many they counted on the property. And I'm concerned because environmentally, our city has been very astute on issues like this, but it seems like it's gone by the wayside. I was told by the people off of Loquat down off of Sunset that the great horned owls are gone except for one that got confused when they were cutting down the tree and ran into the wires and burned, and they buried it. You can't get all these environmental animals and birds and things, but we should have a report, and we should have an accounting from the state. Those of us who live up on Bay Shore have always enjoyed watching them, and we know it's the wild out there. But I think we need to be astute. I think we need environmentally to watch what's going on. And I'd like to know this development, how many they counted, when they went in to get them, because none of us saw or heard anything, how many they removed, because now, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6 have been sighted in the area. And we need to make sure whoever the developer is or whoever the company is that bought the property after they got all their permits is doing what they're supposed to do to protect the environment of our community. So I'd like to have an answer as to how many they counted, how many were removed, when they removed them, because we still have them there as they're doing the construction. Thank you. And Commissioner Banther, I want to commend you on item 24 for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Okay. Now let's move on to proclamation, item number 1, National Arbor Day. I will turn it over to our Vice Mayor, Tara Petty.
Proclamation, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoils by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and beautify our community. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Vice Mayor Townsend Tarapani, by virtue of the authority vested in the mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby proclaim that April 29th, 2016, the last Friday of April, be recognized by the city of Tarpon Springs in support of National Arbor Day. And I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. This will be accepted by Gary Sherman. I don't see him, so
No, he's not able to make it, so.
okay, so we'll get that to him.
Mail it. Okay.
And just to add to that, we have just found out we've been designated for the 9th year in a row as part of Tree City USA. So for the 9th year, we've got that designation. Presently, we are closed. We have 2 people waiting to sit for the test, and we will have, shortly after they do the test, 3 arborists on staff. Remember, we had the issue before, and the one I said about program of training people within. So hopefully within the next couple months, we'll have 3 arborists on staff instead of the one we usually have on. And just for a count, and for those people who want to know, we as a city planted 466 trees last year. So again, we've been designated Tree City USA for the 9th year, and for the work of everything the commission's done with our tree ordinance, with that, we are following that. So just want to report that to you tonight.
For the record, though, we do have, not to interrupt, we do have an arborist on staff currently.
We currently have one, and I promise you within the next couple of years to get you some more. So
Just wanted to make that clear.
yes, we have always had one on staff. 2 more are coming.
There you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. Are there any commission comments? Now we'll move on to the item number 2, Earth Day celebration. Commissioner Slattery, please read your proclamation.
Proclamation, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida. Whereas the global community now faces extraordinary challenges such as global health issues, food and water shortages, and economic struggles. And whereas all people, regardless of race, gender, income, or geography, have a moral right to a healthy, sustainable environment with economic growth. And whereas it is understood that the citizens of the global community must step forward and take action to create a green economy to combat the aforementioned global challenges. And whereas a green economy can be achieved on the individual level through educational efforts, public policy, and consumer activism campaigns. And whereas Earth Day is the beginning of a new year for environmental stewardship commitments to implement sustainability efforts and commit to an Earth Day resolution. Now, therefore, I, Commissioner Susan Slattery, by virtue of the authority vested in the mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2016 as Earth Day Celebration Month. And I encourage residents and businesses in the city of Tarpon Springs to protect our environment and contribute to a greener, healthier, and more sustainable future. And this will be mailed?
It will be mailed.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any public comments on this item? Here none. Any commission comments? None. We move on into the item number 3. Item number 3 is proclamation. City of Tarpon Springs, Florida. Whereas one of the most meaningful gifts that a human being can bestow upon another is the gift of life. Whereas more than 28,000 Americans receive a life-saving organ transplant every year. And whereas a new patient is added to the nation patient waiting list for an organ transplant every 10 minutes. And whereas over 121,000 men, women, and children are currently on the national waiting list for an organ transplant, of which more than 1,100 are in the West and Southwest Florida area, whereas an average of 21 people died every day waiting for an organ transplant that doesn't come in time. Whereas one organ, tissue, and eye donor can serve or enhance the life as many as 60 people, and whereas everyone is potential organ, eye, and tissue donor can register their wish to save lives through organ and tissue donation at www.donatelifeflorida.org or their driver's license. Now, therefore, I, Chris Salahuzes, by virtue of authority vesting in me as the mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2016 as Donate Life Month in the city of Tarpon Springs and encourage all residents to consider giving life through organ donation. We're going to mail this, but I want to comment that we have quite a few residents here in Tarpon Springs that they receive organ transplant, and they're doing very well. So this is a good program, and I encourage all of you to sign up for that program. I am a donor myself. Are there any public comments? Here now, are there any commission comments? Okay, we move on to the presentation, which is item number 4. K4 Officer Tommy Nguyen and the K9 Dobbies United States Police K9 Association USPCA Region 1 Field Trial.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the great things about being a police chief is when you could brag about your people. I know our city manager can attest to that. Tommy and his K9 Dobbies are truly awesome. And we always knew that. You know, he worked really hard. We had a great dog. Tommy's always available for call out, and his dedication is off the charts. And I know Commissioner Banther knows that firsthand from the Citizens Academy. But recently, our K9 competed in the United States Police K9 Association annual competition, and the dog did absolutely phenomenal. And that's a great asset to have in our community. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Major Templeton, who's going to go over PowerPoint, and we'll introduce Dobbies. Thank you.
First, I wanted to say that I worked for the city from the 80s to the 90s for 8 years and then took a service break when my son was born. I came back in the 90s and I've worked until the present. I've seen a lot of wonderful and very hardworking officers come and go, but I truly think that we have the best group of men and women right now working for the city of Tarpon Springs and serving them that we've had over the last couple of decades. So I'm always happy to brag about one of them, and especially Officer Wynn. He's very easy to supervise, so I don't feel like killing him every other day like some people. Officer Ton Wynn, I'm trying to pronounce the name correctly. We call him Tommy, and his K9 Dobbies too, which his nickname also is Ernie. I know the Board of Commissioners and the mayor were all here when we introduced him as our new K9 officer a couple of years ago, so they are familiar with his background. But for the people in the audience who are not, he and his father came here from Vietnam, and they endured a lot of hardship to get here. He spent 4 years in a refugee camp in Thailand, and when he was 14 years old, by the time he got to the United States, he was 18. He did not speak any English at all. He went ahead and he wanted to join the military, but he was concerned about leaving his family and his community. So he decided to enter law enforcement. We were lucky that he did decide that. And so he overcame a lot of obstacles, finished his education, now in law enforcement. Once, you can't just automatically go into a K9 officer position when you join law enforcement. You have to show that you have work ethic and dedication. It's one of the hardest positions there are. I would compare it to the SWAT team, for example, because they have a lot of the same physical trials that the K9 officers do. That was his goal. He tried out the first time, and there was a lot of competition. He didn't make it the first time. He did pass, but there was someone who was a little more qualified, so that person was selected. It would have been easy for him to become angry or bitter. He did not. He just continued with his 150% dedication. And when the second position became available, the chief nominated him for that second position. We're very proud of the dog, too. He is a 4-year-old sable male German Shepherd imported from Europe. He was born in January 2012. We purchased him with forfeiture funds, which is not taxpayer money. In Florida, if a person commits a felony and they use vehicle, property, or cash, it's a court process. But we're allowed to seize funds, and if the court awards us those funds, we can use those for law enforcement purposes. I'm just going to put some pictures in here so that you guys can see them working together. These are some of the things that police dogs can be used for. I know there was kind of a perception that they're just menacing, fierce. As you can see, the dog is very sociable. He does not attack anyone only to protect Officer Wynn's life, or if Officer Wynn commands him to apprehend a suspect, that would be the only time he would go after someone. He's very good with children. He's gone to a lot of children's events, and very good with adults as well. They can search buildings or look for lost children or adults. In Florida, that's an issue a lot with elderly people who have dementia and they wander away from home. He's been very good about finding tracks for them. He can pursue criminals. He can search for narcotics and protect Officer Wynn. If they're properly trained and handled, they give us one of the finest non-lethal aids in the prevention and detection of crime. In 2013, they attended basic canine school. That's a 12-week school, very difficult. The experts say that the dogs should spend 1 year at least tracking, and they did that, and they did so well that the next year they went to narcotics detection training, which is another 12-week school. He's now certified in both tracking and drug detection, and he's working the busiest hours of patrol, which is 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. They also train every other week with other law enforcement agencies. That keeps their skills sharp, and it also provides documentation for court purposes. If he does, for example, find drugs, they can't just show up in court and say, hey, we found drugs. They have to prove that he's been training, that the dog doesn't alert on things where there are not drugs, so they train constantly. That's another picture of him in the community. What we want to brag about today is the USPCA, which the mayor already mentioned. They did take place in this training. It was hosted this year by Fort Walton County Sheriff's Office. They competed with a lot of different dogs and ended up placing in the top. In narcotics detection, he was number 2. So 60 dog teams competed, and they were tested in the areas of obedience, agility, evidence recovery, suspect search, criminal apprehension, and apprehension under gunfire, which is no fun. These are some of the pictures from the USPCA trials. He looks a little nervous right there. They were very proficient. They earned PD1 certification. And then in the area of drug detection, their total points were 197.67 out of a possible 200. He did very well. This performance qualifies him for the National Detection Trials in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which we'll be glad to send him there. That's him receiving his plaque. And there's Dobie's posing with his awards. And I just wanted to list some of the successes he has had locally, because we don't want to brag about him just competing with other dogs, but these are some of the things he has actually done in Tarpon Springs. He has apprehended, he's had 30 apprehensions and article recoveries. One of those was a gun that a suspect threw down while he was running. We did not want that gun out in the community. If a child, got off a school bus or something like that and found something like that, it would be very dangerous. He has gone to over 50 traffic stops and had 20 positive drug alerts. There was an armed robbery of a pizza driver last month, and we always give credit to the dog, but really it's both of them. They're a team, and the dog takes after the handler. So when we say, hey, Dobie's tracked, it was really both of them. They tracked the suspects to a house. They recovered the pizza bag and the keys, the victim's car keys. And all of the suspects were located inside the house. Another recent one, reckless driver struck a vehicle and then left the scene. They both bailed out on foot. He found one hiding on top of a carport roof, and the other one they tracked to a house. Last week, a subject ran from a traffic stop. He located the subject hiding in the house. He didn't bite him, he just dragged him out by the pants. The officer always asks me to mention this whenever we do community presentations, especially to kids, because when they see him working in a neighborhood, they all want to come out. But this is what to do if you do see a canine in your neighborhood. Just go back in your house, and because if you stay outside or walk around, you might distract the dog or ruin the track that he's trying to follow. Both of them with their awards, and he does not like being brushed, as you can tell. This is the police canine memorial. That's actually where service dogs have been laid to rest, and they visited there. This is them training. I would have loved to put the pictures that I got today, but the IT person glared at me when I said, "Can I put some more pictures in here?" They actually trained with U.S. Customs today and went on one of the commercial, it was a shrimp boat or fishing boat, and they practiced boarding the boat and searching the boat. It was really hot today, so that was a wonderful thing that they did and sharpens their skills even more. So I'll turn it over to you. You can show everyone what you can, some of the things that you can do with the dog. We won't be doing any bite work.
Go in the corner, waiting, hiding, make sure everything's okay, and you're gonna reach my leg. Buddy, so nervous. Come on. But basically, that was like, just self-obedient, you know, the photos, like you see the picture of the photos, the window, that's what I do when I carry them sometimes. If you get injured, sometimes I have to pick them up, walk out of the woods, or I can put him on my shoulder.
I love it. It's awesome. Look at him. Look at him.
The dog was more than him.
But sometimes that's what we have to do sometimes. My dog gets injured, so you gotta do something. Like you get regular dog sometimes, you put her shoulder in a leg. You're not freaking out. That's what you want on this person. Now, if you're really obedient to this, he kind of know that he's not. We see a lot of people be shy. When he go to work, when he's working, he's like on and off. You know, when he go to work, he knows shy.
Thank you, Tommy. You guys are awesome.
No. I was wondering if we were going to be able to.
Officer Tommy, thank you for the presentation. Congratulations for your accomplishments and for receiving the certification from the nationally recognized USPCA. Again, thank you for your services.
Thank you,
Chief,
Mayor.
thank you for recognizing his talent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are there any public comments on this item? I hear none. Are there any commission comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm deathly afraid of dogs, so that was quite interesting. But I just have a question, because he's on a leash now. Is he always on the leash? Like when you go out on a call, or do you take the leash off of him?
I think
he could go.
I think it depends on the circumstances. Tommy, if you want to answer that real quick?
I'm sorry? I will walk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you always keep the dog, like if you're on a call,
Yeah.
is the dog always on the leash, or do you
Yeah,
release him?
this leash is, I use this leash for, like, I do drug, my search for drugs. I got the other leash, I hook it up in here for tracking. I have 15 foot and 9 foot, so I use that for tracking. This kind of short. So when I'm tracking, I hook it up here. But I'm always have on him on.
Always on, okay.
Yeah, always. Always on. Unless I go to the college at night and train him, I can let him run around.
All right. Thank you.
Any other comments? No. We move on to item number 5, which is the external audit, comprehensive annual finance report 2015 by William Bland.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight we have the presentation of the city's external audit. As you probably might not know, but state statutes require that cities have an annual financial audit done annually by an independent certified public accounting firm. And tonight we have Bill Blinn, shareholder with Moore Stevens Lovelace, to present our external audit. I might say I known Bill for quite a while. He's quite a government accounting person. He's been around for as long as I've known him, 20, 25 years. So he's well known and respected in the field.
Thank you, Ron. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, I want to thank you, first of all, for allowing us to serve as your external auditors. It's very difficult when you're about to present a financial statements to a board and you have to follow an animal. So I don't think I can do similar tricks or anything like that. So I'll do my best to keep everybody interested and excited about my presentation. Things that I need to do tonight are really 3 things. One is to just briefly discuss the required communications. These communications are required by the audit standards. I'll do a review of the audit reports that we have with that, also review some high-level financial information, and then ask that you accept the CAFR for this year, for the fiscal year in 2015. So in your packet with this, you should have received a letter from us, which generally covers all of the required communications, things like our responsibility, management's responsibility, difficulties encountered in the audit, which there were none. So I would just open it up if you have any questions about the required communications that was provided. And seeing none, I will move on. So if we go to the independent auditor's report, which is on pages B1 and B2, that is an unmodified report. So that's the highest level of assurance that you can receive from any accounting firm, and that means that the financial information that's presented in the over 150-page CAFR that you have is correct from our standpoint. We've audited that information and believe from a materiality standpoint that information is properly reported. In addition to that, government audit standards require that we do a report on your internal controls and compliance and other matters. So we look at internal controls and compliance with various things such as debt covenants and other things like that that are considered to be significant from our experience and opinion, and we evaluate those. And so we didn't have any findings in that report. So what that does is that speaks to staff's job and the good job that they do in compiling the information and making sure that they're following the rules in the accounting side as well as your policies and procedures. In addition to that, the state of Florida requires that a management letter be provided to you. And we've provided that letter. We did have one finding in that report. That's related to, as part of the audit process, as you can imagine in today's world, IT is a very important aspect of controls. And so we had some general IT items that we've discussed with your IT department. We don't get into great detail, obviously, because of the security issues that would surround IT, but we fully discussed those with the IT staff as well as the financial staff, and they would address them. If you wanted specific information on that, I could certainly do that offline at any point. And then finally, the Auditor General always finds things for us to do, and then over recent years, they've required us to provide an independent accountant's report on compliance, specifically on compliance as it relates to Florida Statute 218, which is the investment statute, meaning does your investment policies and procedures follow the statute? And I can tell you that it does, and we had no findings as it relates to that. Any questions on the reports that we've issued? Okay. Just again, highlights, looking at kind of your general fund, which is your main operating fund. Don't get into the special revenue funds, debt service funds. Those things are pretty self-evident in their purposes and policies. So we just kind of look at your general fund, your main operating fund. So if we look at their big side, that's a good position. If we're looking at a business, you know, the assets are healthy, liabilities are small, so that's a good thing. Just look at your your fund balance, and looking at that, you can see your unassigned fund balance is about $8.8 million, or as a percentage of total expenditures, about 40%. So again, that's we deem that to be a healthy fund balance, in the sense that, you know, you're hopefully able to suffice if, you know, something should come up and resources were to dry up. You have money, you know, on hand to kind of cover immediate needed expenditures. As far as your change in your fund balance from the prior year, you did have a 1.1 million reduction in that amount. Looking at how you budgeted things, so if you look here, you kind of bottom line on your budget, you actually were budgeting to eat into that fund balance, and however, you didn't eat into it as much as you had budgeted, so that's a good thing. And if you look at really where that held the line was really on the expenditure side. So you budgeted for about 23 million, spent just about 22, or just about 24 million, spent about 22, so you had about a $2 million savings on the expenditure side. If you look at revenues, they were pretty much in line there. Moving on to your enterprise funds, I'll go through these individually. Reason for this is, once you get outside the government funds, these activities are really meant to be self-sustaining. And you can kind of see that for the most part they are. If we look at kind of where your assets and your liabilities are, you have that good ratio where you have more assets and liabilities. That's always a wonderful thing, as any of us can think of that in our own world. Looking at your net position, you would expect things to be healthy here. Because you want to always, when you're looking at an enterprise fund, you're looking at a fund that's not only self-sustaining, but that can make sure that you continue to improve the assets that you have, so the infrastructure and things like that, like in the water and sewer fund, things like that. So if we look at the bottom line, the operating income loss for this year, the water and sewer had a 2.2 million income, and the sanitation fund had a 0.4 million income. Going into your non-major proprietor or enterprise funds, look at those. Really the only one there, really the two, which is not uncommon in the government environment, you know, a marina and a golf course. You know, you'd love to see those things produce revenue or cover their costs, but the reality is that, you know, that doesn't always happen. So you just kind of want to keep an eye on those things, and how you want to deal with those is really your choice. So that's pretty much what I was going to cover as far as a highlighted financial statement side. The only other thing I would recommend, and I always recommend to all my clients, if you don't get an opportunity to read through this whole document, which is really great nighttime reading, Please review the MD&A, the Management's Discussion Analysis. It's a very high-level overview, and it also provides you with detailed information about what the changes were and what the expectations were for the year. And with that, I would open it up for any questions that you might have for me.
Well, thank you for the presentation, and one of my questions was if you had any recommendations for improvement, but you already spoke to IT department.
Yes, sir.
It's very important that IT is up to speed with that, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And also, I would like to congratulate our finance department for a job well done. Thank you. Any questions, any comments? No. Are there any public comments? No. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. The only thing I would ask is if you would receive the document officially.
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is something we've been waiting, the Library Board Annual Report. Ms. Patterson?
I'm Sherry Patterson, the current chairperson for the Library Board. And I'm here tonight to present the annual report to you, Mayor Alahousas, and Vice Mayor and Commissioners. It's really interesting because Carrie Rupp-Calvis gave me this little bookmark that apparently she had given all of you in your packets. And if you'll notice at the bottom it says, Libraries Transform. We had not discussed this bookmark, but when I was looking at what my opening remarks were going to be about our library and libraries in general, I ran across some information from the American Library Association. Last week was the National Library Week, and their theme was Libraries Transform, and that's where that came from. And I looked at that and I thought about everything that our libraries are facing in the United States today, and actually in the world today. Libraries are fairly much in trouble all over, where the shift in resources has been to more digital and away from, the standard collection of books. This theme, or this program that's been launched by the American Library Association, is very important. And what they're trying to do is to shift your mindset, or the world's mindset, from libraries are obsolete, or libraries are a nice thing to have, to the focus on that libraries are essential in today's world. So for that, I want to go into what we'll be looking at for our library and what we have done over the last 100 years in this library to bring it to a library that's in transformation right now. Our library board has a number of citizens on it. Some have served on the library board for a number of years, have come off, come back on again. That's what I just did. You term out, you wait a couple years, and you come back and want to do it again. It's a very good board to be part of. We have Peggy Prestis here tonight. She's our vice chairman. We fought over who was going to do this presentation tonight. I lost. Members include Kim Mitchell, who's a secretary of the board. She's also a volunteer for the library. And then our members include Jan Fortis, Bill Grantham, who I'm sure most of you know, Eileen Scott, which I know has taught a number of you, and Debbie Salikas. If you look at our board membership, it's former businesswomen and professionals, it's teachers. So that tells you something about what we believe is the importance of the library. And then we also have our city employees, Kathleen Monahan, Carrie Rupp-Calvis, and Denise Manning, with whom we could not do anything. The library's mission over the years has always been to provide excellent library and information services to fulfill the needs of its users, enhance the quality of life, and be a focal point for the community. In doing this, we provide traditional services and are also staying current with the latest technology and providing new programs and materials. We have a lot of new programs going on. The early literacy programs continue the way that they always have, but we keep adding additional components to it. Just the difference that I noted when we were going through this information was that what was STEM last year is now STEAM, because we've added arts to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as the things that we're focusing on for our young people at the library. We're also doing a lot of partnering with the schools and community organizations. One of the most exciting things has been the new Digital Media Lab, which will be opening later this year at Tarpon Middle School. And we will also have a digital media lab in the library with the help of the funding of the Friends of the Library. In addition to the growing collections that we have, if you've been online, you've seen that we've improved the number of ebooks that are available, the music that can be downloaded, audiobooks, videos. We're also now offering digital magazines through Zinio. Lots of us over the years, as magazines have started offering us the ability to go in on our iPads or Kindles or whatever to look at magazines, had been paying for this service. And now we can go through the library and get a lot of our favorite magazines. And the library even lets us know when the newest edition of our favorite magazine has come in, and we can look at it. We've also just implemented a new online catalog and checkout system and working through some of the little kinks that happen whenever you have some kind of an online computer installation. I did that for a living for a number of years, so I fully understand and sympathize with my friends at the library. We also have a new database offering coming up that will be offering business and technology courses at the library online. So we'll learn more about that over the next few months. I mentioned that we're celebrating our 100 years of library history, and I'm sure that is not a surprise to any of you. But I do remember when I first came to Tarpon Springs almost 24 years ago, that one of the things that I really drew us to Tarpon Springs, for my husband it was Howard Park, for me it was the library at Craig Park. And what I did was I researched the history at the time that we moved here, and it just thrilled me to see, how it had started with Julia Ennis, 100 years ago, or almost 100 years at that time, in a little room over the circuit court clerk's office in the old City Hall, which is now the Cultural Center. I thought it was a charming story, but then you look at all of the changes for the library over the years, from that small room to another little library space, and then to Craig Park in the 60s, and now our beautiful library on Lemon Street. To celebrate the 100th anniversary, we'll be doing a lot of programs through the years, through this coming year. And Jim Schnurr appeared at the library in January and did his presentation on the history of the library. he also had done that in the past for the history of Tarpon Springs. In this particular presentation, he talked about the forming of the library and how important the library was to him personally. Following that was a history program a couple of weeks later by Tina Bukovalis, and it highlighted her new book, Greeks in Tarpon Springs. And while we talk about, how important transforming is to the digital age, I think it's really important for everyone to understand that it's equally important to understand the heritage of Tarpon Springs. And to that end, it's mostly the Greek heritage. And we're trying to keep that in place because it's very important for young people to understand where they came from. The library's anniversary will also be commemorated this weekend at the City Celebration and Touch a Truck event on Lemon Street at the library. Subject near and dear to my heart, Friends of the Tarpon Springs Library. We are 52 years old now, the Friends of the Tarpon Springs Library, and in this past year, we helped support a lot of the enhancements at the library, including the Bazooki Lending Program, the funding of hundreds of books for the Christmas parade, as well as there are certain digital databases that we support financially, and also we pay for additional programming at the library. In 2015, we raised $15,000 in the little used bookstore in the library, and we added $20,000 from the Friends of the Library Investments to bring a total of $35,000 donated to the library at the end of the year. We also have volunteer service at the library as well. That's harder to quantify, but that's a lot of money too. Adult and youth volunteers also are there. It's wonderful to watch some of the teenagers from Tarpon Springs High School come to the library and teach the senior citizens how to use their laptops or iPads or e-readers. And one of the ladies, as she was leaving the library, she said something to me about, "This is the most wonderful service." And I said, "I think it is too. Did you have fun?" And she said, "Yes, and I have a grandson who won't give me the time of day, so I come here." And she said, "I love it, and they're so good to me." And I said, "Yes, they are." We partner with a lot of different groups, as you've seen through this. The Rotary, the Women's Club, the Garden Club now, the Grow Group. We're going to be doing a whole lot of that because we found that there's synergy in partnering, and we've always had a good relationship with other city departments, like the police department and the fire department and the recreation division. We also work with other public libraries through the Pasco Pinellas Cooperative. And of course, the exchange of materials is very important to all of us. We'll be starting a seed library in partnership with the Grow Group and the Tarpon Springs Garden Club and others. And I know that Rhea Sieber, who's not here tonight, is very interested in the community garden, and we feel that that's could become a hand-in-hand, and the Friends of the Library have agreed to help fund whatever the costs are for a seed library. We're also working on establishing little free libraries around the city, and right now I'm working on a design to give to Mark and let him approve it of what the Women's Club and Friends of the Library are going to go together and do one for Craig Park. And it'll include the logos for both organizations, and then we also have friends from the Art Association who are going to help us jazz it up a little bit. And here's what I know Commissioner or Vice Mayor Tarpon always looks forward to, and that's the statistics. And before you start calculating it in your head, we always want to talk about what the per day statistics are, which are just mind-boggling to me sometimes. Your attendance at the library, if you break that down into a per day figure, it's almost 600 people a day coming through the doors of the library, despite all of the digital stuff that we are offering. If you look at the physical materials that are checked out every day, and you break that down, it's over 900 physical materials that are checked out every day. And when you break that down and you just kind of look at the staffing in our library, which runs pretty lean and mean most of the time, or all of the time really, that's a lot of materials being handled by a very small staff. And when it comes to the library computer users, and this isn't counting those that come in with their own computers, we're talking about 150 a day. That's a lot. And in these economic times, it amazes me that we continue to do this over and over and over again. I'd like to make a closing comment, and that's that regarding libraries transform, I'd like to, and I have this from the rest of my board, say that our city is very, very fortunate to have Carrie Rupp-Calvis as the director of our library. She's forward-thinking, she is intelligent, she sees beyond today, and she looks toward what we need to become to stay relevant in this day and age. And we thank her very much for being such a great leader. Just as the library of 24 years ago at Craig Park met so many of the requirements that you would want from any city library, the library of 2016, under Carrie's leadership, in a very quickly changing world, still meets the needs of a very diverse population. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments?
Ms. Patterson, I just want to thank you for the presentation, and I want to thank the staff, the board, library board, the Friends of the Library, all the volunteers for the many hours that they work so we can have a good library here in Tarpon Springs. You mentioned about computers. One of the questions that I had is, do we offer any computer program classes for people that like to learn more about computers?
Yes, we do. In fact, we have regularly scheduled classes, and we also offer one-on-one training for people who don't feel comfortable in a class. We have reference librarians, also the assistant director, Sal. I think most everybody knows Sal, are just wonderful at teaching, you know, how to use the laptops or computers. And in fact, the Friends of the Library several years ago donated laptops for the training class. So we have, how many of those do we have? We have 15 laptops, so it's a pretty good, plus the projector and screens and everything, so everybody can be on the same screen at the same time.
That's very nice, and so nice for the high school students to help out too.
Yes.
Thank you. Any public comments?
Mr. Mayor.
You
I
had
had
a question?
No, I had a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to take a minute to thank you all for your service, and also recognize the importance of, and thank you for this as well, is how important it is that you are keeping our library moving forward into the future with some of the programs that you're doing and with the technology aspect of it. it's certainly a real concern to keep our library moving forward, and you're doing so every day by the programs and how you're focusing on the technology. I am always impressed by the statistics and the numbers and the data in terms of the attendance with the library. To me, it's not, I don't look at it as, making sure that the library is doing its job. To me, I look at it as a staggering number of people that are utilizing our library, and it's something that I'm very proud of. And on a side note, I'll just tell you a couple of funny stories about the library. When I was growing up, my dad was on the library committee who, the people were responsible for constructing the new library. And I was maybe 13 years old or something at the time, and they were doing, they were trying to raise some money with the bricks that are around the fountain. So it was my birthday or Christmas or whatever, and I got, I'm excited, I get this piece of paper that said, "Congratulations, we bought a brick in your name." And I was like, thanks a lot, what do I care about this brick? So I can walk, directly, and to me now it's something that I treasure, and, I'm so happy that my grandparents or my dad or whoever it was had bought the brick. I think it's like $100, but I can walk right to it at the fountain. And the mayor at the time, I remember when which was Miss Protus back there, when the groundbreaking for the library, some of the donors were recognized, and, thankfully my grandparents were forward-thinking, and they donated to the library and everything. And the Halki boat, which is the Greek dinghy that's by I think it's by the flagpole, that was given to the library in my name. So I got a pretty cool jewelry box that was, has the city seal on it and says something about being the youngest donor or whatever. So that's something that I cherish and still have to this day as well in regard to the library. And then the last thing I'll tell you is in the children's section, the library has some beautiful, magnificent etched glass. And in the children's section of the library, there's a merman who has a tickle stick, and he's tickling a lobster. And I just want you to know that that's me as a child. And we went to the glass people that lived out on Anclote Road who did all the glass for the library. And my dad actually took me out there to have me pose as the merman. And I was, 13 years old, little fat kid, had to take off my shirt, and I thought I was going to die, I was like, so in either case, I'm with y'all every night. I spend the night in the library every day and every night. So we appreciate what you do. Thank you very much.
It's funny.
I'll have to add that to the stories I tell people when I take them through the library.
There you go.
Yes, that's great.
Commissioner Spencer?
No comments, thank you.
No comment?
I just want to thank all of you for all your hard work and dedication, because we do have a great library, and I've supported it through the years. As my son grew up, numerous nights during the week, he'd ask me to bring him there, and I guess he would go in, sit, or he'd call it Papa Squat somewhere, just grab a book and sit in the middle of an aisle somewhere and just read. And he just, he still goes in there to this day. And just, you've done such a great job. And I have to say, every time I go into the library, which is not as often as I used to, but I do go at least a few times a year, it's always crowded. I cannot believe the utilization of our library. And hopefully someday maybe we can have a little annex or something and grow a little bit more. But thank you all for your hard work. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item?
Anita Prost, 901 Bayshore Drive. I want to congratulate this group of ladies because they worked very hard at making it grow and making it shine. And when we were out raising funds for the library, I remember I went to Mr. Ellis. And because my daughter was going to Carnegie Mellon at the time, and when she needed money and her daddy said, "I gave you an allowance, that's it," she knew two people she could call. She called Mr. Ellis and she called Buddy Tarpon. "My daddy won't give me money. What do you need?" And so Mr. Ellis called me and said, "I had a conversation with your daughter." I said, "I'll be right up." So we were talking, and I told him, I says, "Mr. Ellis, we need to move the library." He says, "Yes, I can't park down there." I says, "I know it's very difficult, and we've outgrown it." He turned around and he says, "How much do you need?" And I said, "Well, this is the cost of the library." He says, "Build it. I need to be able to walk from my office to the library." He says, "Anita, you've done a good job. Whatever you need, you've got." I said, "Thank you." Well, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Mike Cantonis called me. He says, I'd like to see you immediately. I said, all right, Mr. Cantonis, I'll come right over to your office. He said, I was speaking to Mr. Ellis, and I would like to help with the library also. These two families went overboard in giving the money for the Tarpon Springs Library because they knew the importance of it. And then Mr. Tarpon came and he says, I want to help you with the library. I said, fine, thank you. The support from the community was outstanding for our library. Townsend's etched in glass. My niece and nephew, Joni and Angelo Economist, are etched in glass. We have other young children who used to come up to City Hall for their student votes and things. They wanted to pose, and I said, let's do all the children in glass so they'll know the importance. And it's just, our library is a family community library. It really is, and it's very important. But please, it needs to be painted, and we need to clean the roof. It's a monument to our community, so I urge the city to please take care of the library because a lot of effort and hard work went into it.
Thank you.
And we need carpet also. And it's on sale now at Bob's Carpet Place. I saw it on TV.
Thank you.
I have, excuse me, Kathy Monahan, 214 Banana Street. I just have to say something in terms of stories you can tell. Because I started out working for the city as a children's librarian when it was only 1/2 of the space down at Craig Park now. And I remember Anita's daughter, Harriet, coming in to check out at the age of 10 all of Stephen King's books. And that's, I think, the role of the library in providing all of those books for her, getting her so she was knowledgeable and feeding that intelligence, getting her onto Carnegie Mellon, and it's you know, it's grown a lot and it has a lot of memories. And but I had to say, Anita, I remember those days when we had 2 librarians who were there, major librarians, when I first came to Tarpon Springs, who knew who you are by whether or not you had overdue books, and would tell you across the room, you have overdue books, you brought them back. So things have really come a long way.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and thanks for all your services to our library. The next item is item number 7, Police Department 5-year strategy plan.
Thank you, Mayor. Honorable Mayor, Board of Commissioners. As we set up a little PowerPoint here, it's critical for any organization, in my opinion, to have a strategic plan. It's really a blueprint for who you are and where you're going. After we got accredited back in 2013, we did a 3-year strategic plan. Of course, those times the economic challenges were much greater, so we didn't want to go out 5 years. We went out 3 years. And that was a very successful plan. It brought us a long way. We learned a lot from that plan. But one of the things I like to see is what I call continued organizational progression. And we are at a stage now where we just got reaccredited back in February 24th of 2016. And in looking at a 5-year strategic plan, we brought in an expert from around the country that helped us. But the interesting thing about this plan, it started from the bottom up, because that's how you have to do it. It started from the officers to the first line supervisors, went through the command staff, through the city manager. It went to the community, and now it's coming to you. I have a couple rules for a strategic plan, and they're real simple. It needs to be simple, it needs to be real, and it needs to be flexible. I don't need a 100-page document to show off how good we are. This plan is simple, it's concise, and it starts from the bottom up. Because if you don't do it that way, the troops will never buy into it. They own it, along with us, and along with the community, and along with you. We really worked hard at this plan. We really think it came together well. And I'll just cover it with you here real quick. Again, it's not that long. It's simple, and it really evolves around 4 goals that we want to achieve. And every year we assess this plan, and this plan is very flexible. Now, this is my favorite part of the plan. This picture of all of us, I don't think we need to go any further. I think we just look awesome. So, but anyway, it does start. It starts with the commission and the city manager through the police chief, through the department, and obviously the community really is at the top of it all. But the commission needs to be recognized in this plan, obviously. And one of the things we're doing now, because a strategic plan really needs to be part of your culture. If it's not a part of your culture, it's not a plan at all. You know, some of these things in some organizations just go on a shelf and they collect dust and they're meaningless. This one's real. In our FTO program, we're restructuring it right now, especially in the orientation phase. New recruits will be tested on who the commissioners are. They need to know the organizational values. I even walk around the hallways and I'll ask the new recruits what our 5 core values are. I give them about 2 weeks and then they better know it. You know, so you instill this culture into them when they come into the PD. That's what makes a plan like this real. This is just, part of the plan is just an open letter of vision for the future. And we talk about, you know, the basic reality of this plan. And, you know, it really, once again, it just mentions that this is a blueprint. It's simple. It's where we want to go and who we are and what kind of services we're going to provide to the community. This is one thing where I think a lot of departments get it wrong. They make this too complicated. This is real simple. We evolve around this. Our mission, I can repeat it, it's one sentence. Everyone needs to know it. It's simple, it's real. Our vision, simple. Our core values, it all evolves around that. It's real simple. Integrity, professionalism, quality, creativity, and accountability. We hold our people accountable to this. If they're not accountable to this, then we're not an agency because it all evolves around this. If you don't have your integrity, if you don't have professionalism, if we don't give quality service, if we're not creative, and if we don't have accountability, we're not a police department. We don't need to exist. It's really that simple. The next section is something that a lot of plans incorporate. It's kind of interesting. And again, this is not just the chief writing this thing up in an hour in his office and just spreading it through the department saying, here's who we are and let's go forward. This was actually, again, started from the bottom up. And this is called the SWOT analysis. It's the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And any organization needs to understand that. When you exist, you need to know what your strengths are, you need to know what your weaknesses are, you need to know what your opportunities for development are, and you need to know what your threats are in the environment. And when we say threats, it's not, okay, you know, someone's going to destroy us, but it's what threats are out there that can hurt our integrity, that can really set us back as an organization. And what threats are out there that we can communicate and better market ourselves to get the message out of who we are. So some of these things, I mean, our department's very strong with technology. Our people are excellent. Our equipment's excellent, thanks to budgeting. I think we got a great relationship with the governing body, great relationship with the city manager. We do have some weaknesses, and that's something that, you know, we do need to address. One of them is what I call being over-specialized. It's actually a strength, but right now, we have award-winning SRO programs, K-9 unit, our Cops and Kids program, our COPS program in the schools. We can go on and on. We have some phenomenal initiatives that really, really deliver service to the community. But it's getting to the point, if you look all over the country, demand for service is going like this, and resources are now flatlining. We are being put under more and more pressure to deliver service to these communities, and more demands are being put on us, especially patrol. So what I mean by over-specialized, we have to now start to look at our patrol division and complement patrol. I don't want to take away any specialized units. They are essential, and they don't just exist on their own. Yes, they're integrated with patrol. They all work together. We don't like to have walls between our specialized units and patrol, but the bottom line is we really have to take a look at our patrol division. And if we were to ever add more officers, they go on the road. They go on the beat. They go out on foot patrol. They go out taking calls. They go out doing community policing. But if we add people, it will be for patrol. That's how we balance out the department. And I see that right now as a weakness. It's an honest weakness right now. We have to balance it out. If you take from specialized and put back on patrol, all that work is going to come back in patrol one way or another, and we're not going to be proactive. We're not going to stop the problems before they start. So these are just things that we look at that's real important for us to know and to work on. One of the biggest things we just did was when we did our CAD RMS merge with the Sheriff's Department. That was a technological leap. I mean, it was awesome. And now we're all sharing information. I'm hoping that every agency in Pinellas County does the same thing, because we're really moving towards what we call intelligent-led policing. Technology is the key, and we need to tap into that technology. But we're really on that curve. There's some more things that we can do, but that was a really big step. This plan is really evolves around 4 simple goal areas. It's really simple. Maintain and enhance community service and partnerships. That's our service. Our infrastructure, that's the logistics that goes behind the service. You can't provide service without the logistics to support it. Our staffing and staff development, and develop and enhance intelligent-led policing capabilities. What we're seeing now in law enforcement is everything is becoming technology-based. And if you fall behind that, you really fall behind. That's the bottom line. You have to keep up with that. In year 1, we just kind of outline our goals, and we outline basically some of the things we do. And you see in goal 1, maintain and enhance community service and partnerships. These are all the things we do. I mean, they're listed from homeless outreach to code enforcement, crime prevention, working with the housing authority, our cops and kids program, our cops in the school program, our K-9, our SROs, our foot patrols, our business checks, our NIGIs, our bike patrol units, our cops and kids youth center, crime prevention, homeless outreach. The list goes on and on and on. These are phenomenal services, but that demand is going like this. All over the country, demand for service is getting more and more, and it's getting more and more difficult to keep up with it. 2 is infrastructure. I mean, basically, where the logistics support it. One of the things I'm looking at and working with the city manager on is really kind of looking at our IT departments. We're the only ones that are really our own, and I'd like to see more of a, if you will, more of a merger with city IT, so we're all on the same page and we're sharing resources and we're being efficient. But we're working towards that goal. Goal 3 is staffing and staff development. And one of the things you always look at is your organizational structure. Right now, I think we're structured very well. We're lean. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest challenges coming up for all departments and probably all organizations across America is your leadership is really comprised of baby boomers and Gen X's, my generation and the baby boomer generation. And you have this big generation gap to the millennials, 86 million of them. Middle management is in crisis in this country because of this gap. And a lot of my generation and the baby boom generation right now are eligible for retirement. And one of the biggest challenges for us is to develop these people, and we're continually trying to do that through training and mentoring. But you're going to see it all over this country is this huge generational gap. This leadership gap is what I call it. And it's going to be a major challenge to pass the torch on to this next generation because it's happening so fast. But that's one of the things that we're looking at, and our training levels are really phenomenal. That's one of the things, again, with a lot of the younger officers and sergeants, we are constantly developing them. And goal 4 is mission support. Obviously, we constantly have to look at technology. We constantly have to reassess ourselves. We have to look at our external environment, going back to that SWOT analysis. But we have to really stay on that curve, and that's a big, big challenge. But we're up to the task. And when you have a plan like this, and you're planning, and you're scanning, and you're looking, and you're watching what goes on out there, that's how you keep up with it. But you have to keep up with it. And through this whole process, we definitely need the support of the city manager and the city commission. So, in a nutshell, this is where we want to go in the next 5 years. We will hold ourselves up to this plan. We will constantly evaluate this plan. And this is a living plan. We can adjust it every year. We could adjust it in 6 months if we have to. But any adjustments that we make that are major, I'd like to be able to come back and at least share with you so you understand where we're going and how we're measuring up to this plan. But this is our challenge over the next 5 years, and I think this plan will be a great benefit to the department and, of course, the community. So with that, I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you may have.
Chief, thank you for sharing with us your 5-year strategy plan. And I'd like to express my appreciation and my thanks to everyone in the police department for keeping us safe. I have one question. Do you have any program in place that you're going to recruit officers for the future? Because it seems like you're going to need more as you just share with us?
Yes, we actually just did a realignment. We actually ran it. We actually now have put recruiting under our accreditation sergeant, who has already gotten with certain professors at colleges to look at who we recruit, how we recruit, what questions we ask. We go to the colleges, we recruit via social media. See, a lot of the millennials, you got to get them on social media. We got to go out to the college, but they love technology. So right now, we just did this big realignment for recruiting, and that's one of the things we're looking at. He has some really good vision that he's sharing with the command staff to get out there and be proactive and make ourselves visible. But the biggest thing with recruiting is you have to have a good department, you have to have good culture, but your pay, your benefits, and all that. You have to have the total package to recruit people, and I think we do quite well with that.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just want to thank you, Chief, and as usual, tell you that you have all my confidence in the world as well as the PD, and I just want to make sure that y'all know that. And as I've always told you, your word's good enough for me, and that's all I need. So I know that you'll execute this plan, and I certainly appreciate you putting it together and making it known to the commission. But I know you're going to do it. You have all my confidence, so look forward to you carrying it out.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Panther.
Thank you. Yes, also as well. And I would hope during our various workshops in the summer when we go over all the budget items that you speak up if there's things you need, as well as staffing.
Okay, thank you. Yep, obviously, we always work everything through the city manager in partnership with you guys, but we're going to take a good hard look at that. Thank you.
Ms. Lauder.
Thank you. Chief, thank you for this plan, and it's nice to see you're thinking ahead for the community as well, as your staff and everything, but for our community as well. And stick with the plan, and I think we can achieve what you need to achieve here in the next 5 years. And thank you, everybody, for all of your hard work.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? See none? Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Now we're moving to consent agenda. Attorney fees. 8A, Trask and Dino invoice 51096. B, Thompson, Sizemore, Gonzalez and Hearing invoice 83544. 9, special events, Spring Eagle Fest, May 14, 2016. B, Beach du Bayou 5K Run, May 15, 2016. C, Flags for Freedom, May 21, 2016. Item number 10, authorize mayor to execute a letter of support for the PSTA federal transit funding, transit investment, generating economics return, Tiger grant. Item 11, increase file number 110049-B-TK, electric motor and pump repair services. Item number 12, award file number 160083, NJJ Fireworks. 13, award file number 160093, NRS, single source of purchase of Calflow Lime Slurry. Item number 14, award file number 160094, NRS, single source of purchase of Vitec 1400 scale inhibitor. Item number 15, award bid number 160046, BRS, valve maintenance trailer. Item number 16, award file number 160099, C-CM, Utility Florida Sheriff's Association contract, number 15230904, police rated, administrative utility vehicles, trucks and vans. 17, award file number 160100, CM, utilize the Florida Sheriff's Association contract, number 15130904, for cab and chassis and other fleet equipment. And the last one is 18, increase file numbers 150-124 BRS, liquid chlorine cylinders. Do you want to pull any of the items?
I just have a comment on one.
Sorry?
I just have a comment on one.
Okay.
It's number 10. I know I'm not one to usually say nice things about
PSTA, but this is a very good item, and I think it's a good thing that we're going to try and use federal funds for this, and working with Hart and Hillsborough as well. So it's a very positive notion.
Thank you. I also have item number 12 that I'd like to ask Mr. Licouris to expand on it. This is the for the fireworks on 4th of July. Just for public information, I think this is very nice for the people to know.
Yes, and as you know, several years ago, Commissioner Tarpon was tired of the years we had to go through economic hardship and do with the fireworks, so we established that back in the budget, and I think we had a group and a set of fireworks the last few years that's been unrivaled, so we're keeping with that tradition and doing the fireworks. We'll still be doing the picnic during the day and fireworks at night. We've already got everything arranged, as we have. The county's worked well with us for the usage of Howard Park with the agreement, and you know, we've fulfilled Tom's group has fulfilled our obligation to make sure that park is put black, just like we took it afterwards, and that morning afterwards his crew's out there working and does that. So again, we brought it back several years ago and going to continue our tradition of the fireworks out Howard Park viewing from Sunset Beach.
Well, thank you. Are there any public comments on these items? I hear none. I entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. Next item is item number 19, award bid number 160001-B-JJ City Hall exterior rehabilitation and window replacement. Mr. Licouris.
Yes, Tom Function, go ahead and come on forward in case you have any questions on this item. This has been going on a long time. We've been putting away money, planning. I don't know how many times we've been to Board of Commission talking about it, but this is our repointing, preserving City Hall here to have many, many more years of this facility and this building done. I know we didn't have much back. We've done it a lot of times, but just the fast version of the quick version of what we're going to do. Again, we've been probably putting money away and talking about this for about 5 years, I think.
Yeah,
At least 5 years. So
yeah, 5 to 7 years we've been talking about this. Yes, this is exterior rehabilitation, which includes a new roof, repointing of the existing brick, replacing with all the existing windows in City Hall, and replacing with the doors. A complete rehabilitation of the exterior of the building. That'll serve a couple of purposes. One, it will lengthen the life of the use of this building, which I know on the current finances, I don't think we're going anywhere for quite a while. It will actually also hopefully improve the efficiency of the building too. We have a lot of loss, temperature control loss here because of the moisture content and the leaky windows. So it's a big project. It's going to be very noticeable. It's going to be done in phases. And hopefully it goes smoothly. But
and just to go back, there was a long time ago before that, there was always talk of doing a new City Hall. New City Hall, I don't know what you're talking about, 6 to 8 million. Well, if we did that, we still have this building, this auditorium, and everything to do. I personally went to middle school here. My dad went to high school here, and I want to retire and have whoever succeeds me retire from this building as a City Hall. So while it seems like a lot, 2 million, we've planned for it a while, and this will keep us in here and forego the need for a new City Hall, which I don't want any. This is the place it should be and the place it should be. So of these bricks that have never been, this building's been standing a long time, and this work will preserve this not only as a auditorium for performing arts, but as a City Hall, hopefully for many, many years to come to get this done. So it was well thought out. The money comes from Penny for Pinellas, and also, if you remember the land sale that happened by the property where the Mears and that property, we put that $600,000 away many, many years ago for it, supplemented by budget through Penny for Pinellas, and through those two sources of money, that's how we're funding this rehab of the building.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it that there's work that needs to be done through City Hall. I mean, you can see the water intrusion around the windows, and without a doubt, it's been repointing the buildings. At least been talked about at least 5 years because it was slotted for $200,000 when I was on the budget advisory committee. We recommended not doing it. So, that was at least 6 years ago. So, that said, it's just when you get ready to spend $2.2 million, I wish that we had just a little bit more in the backup, not just for the commission, but also for the for the public in terms of, some of the work in greater detail that's going to be done or that was included in the bid packet. And part of the reason why I say that is, we always have the unforeseen contingencies. Well, I guarantee you on a building that's this old, I've renovated enough old houses to know that when you start pulling apart these windows and yada yada, that there's going to be the unforeseen work. So, it's almost a guarantee that they're going to want to make a claim on the $200,000. So I want to try and limit that. Sure. And that's why, I have some of the questions in regard to, the reconstruction of the windows and things like that. So, what in specific, what's included in some of that window replacement and window sills and walls and things like that, Tom? I mean, is this all inclusive 2.2 million? Are we going to have, a brand new facility here or
This is all inclusive. This is complete window replacement. It includes any type of repairs with inside the window opening, which you're very familiar with.
Right.
Repairing the sills, replacement sills if necessary. The grouting of every joint, every single joint. Sealing of the walls. It's not actually a sealer. It's actually a rust-proof a water inhibitor. We can't actually have a sealer. The building still has to breathe. But we believe we've covered every aspect of it. So I don't foresee, I'm not going to promise there's not going to be no attempts at some change orders, but we feel we have a very well laid out plan on doing and this includes everything from temporary ADA access and doing the building in stages. So it's pretty well thought out, and I believe it's very well covered.
Right. Is there any way that we could, as a matter of public record, provide the bid, what was included in the bid to anybody who may want to take a look at it, whether it's the media, to cover more of what was actually bid or anything like that?
Sure, that's all public record.
I want to make sure that's made available to anybody who, wants to take a look at it to see what all, we're getting ready to do here at City Hall when we spend $2.2 million.
We had quite a few companies that did bid on, I don't know if the final number was 15? 15 numbers, and they were all actually fairly close.
Yeah, no, I see that in the backup. I mean, I don't have, like I said, it's something that needs to be done. I don't have an issue doing it, but when you talk about the amount of money that we're talking about here, it's important that it's all, out in the open and everybody has a clear understanding of just, in fact, what we're going to get to preserve this building. So
We'll get the bid, we'll get that on the website, we'll have it at the clerk's office, and we'll also send the copy to the library.
But
So,
in City Hall, I mean, anything just to make sure that the public's totally aware.
Yep.
And one of the things we did too, though, is we did bring the plans and approved through the department from Development Services prior to putting this out to bid. So this has been an approved set of plans.
Oh, the other thing, I have it in my notes here, I was going to mention and talk about. As far as the actual window replacement, is this something that we're going to Historic Preservation Board to our own board to seek approval?
Yes, we've already been through the process and it's been approved.
Okay, I want to make sure.
5 of you.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll make sure.
Yeah, and then, the other thing is, I was talking about this with Karen Lemons today, and it was brought back up here tonight. We talked about, on a previous project that we approved in the Historic District, it was the Burns House, we talked about, coming up with an approved materials list. So, we can streamline some of the Historic Preservation Board approvals in terms of, is hardy board on the approved list? Is a certain type of window on the approved list? And it'll just help us, with some of these renovation, restoration projects, instead of having to go through the whole approval process, if you use, a material that's on that list, you're good to go. It's an approved material. So that's just something, that I think we should look into, because we currently don't have it, although it was talked about. So I know it requires staff time to come up with that list and do the research and everything like that, but just for your notes, Mark, that's something that I think we definitely need to look into. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Panther, any questions?
Will the windows be impact resistant at all, or is it going to be more made for the historic?
No, more on the historic side. They're not impact resistant. It could be a film onto it. We do put some films on it, but we have to keep the historic.
We have the interior shutters, right? That's what those, and that's those
Yes, the rivets inside, especially in IT, has those. Yes.
Okay. And enough for whatever makes this room colder. It's hot here all the time. So thank you.
We're working on that. Yeah.
Commissioner Lowry? No? Okay. I have a couple comments to make. I know this is a project that we've been talking for years. I remember Commissioner Slattery talking about this in the past, but this project has been overdue. Are we going to assign an employee or to be to monitor the quality of work, to be a point of contact for the contractor?
Yes, he'll be going through development services. Mr. Sherman will handle the day-to-day operations. A lot of the inspections will be done through, of course, our inspectors on the project. Everything has to meet, of course, the building code.
Okay.
And we also have the architect will also be here. Part of his original contract was services for construction, so he'll be here too, plus myself.
Yeah. This is a huge project, and it's the City Hall. It's really the heart of the city. If you give us periodically report whenever they do different stages, we'll appreciate that. The other question that I have is when you start replacing windows and do all the work, you're also going to need some work internally.
Yes.
Any plans for that?
Yeah, there are in a part of the contract some minor upgrades, repairs internally, as you see in the stairwells. They'll be addressed originally. But part of resealing a building like this is getting the moisture out of it. A lot of moisture is trapped in this building. It'll take us a little bit of time. I'm going to address the interior of the building over the next couple budget years probably. There's some carpeting I'd like to replace next year, some interior work to be done. But the first thing to do is get the building sealed up and get the moisture out of it, or control the moisture, I should say, into it. There is some air conditioning work that has to be done down the road. I don't want to get into too many of the details. It gets a little technical onto it, but that's other things we have to look at. So actually, the complete renovation of the building was probably 3 to 5 year renovation time.
Yeah. Just to follow up on the windows, the sizes of the windows are not very common. Are they going to be custom-made windows, or
yes,
so you don't have to do any work on the walls?
Yes, well, there's always going to be some work, unfortunately, but the windows themselves are an approved vendor. It's a Marvin window. It's in the bid spec over here. It's a wooden window with aluminum clad on the outside. Okay. So it'll be aesthetically just as the building looks right now.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Are there any public comments on this item? No. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 20, to authorize the sale of 2 parcels of a vacant land on Distant Avenue. Mr. Licouris.
Yes, these are 2 lots that we acquired from the county. They had acquired them, and because it was in the city limits, they were turning property over, so they turned those pieces over to us. It was a set of lots that we'd always plan on preserving because the Habitat for Humanity had a lot of lots adjacent to it, with plans for a long time to develop some affordable housing there. So we've had them, we were holding them for that process. We learned that Habitat for Humanity is not going into big developments, that they're going to concentrate on smaller, for individual single houses. And because of that, they want to sell to the company that you see on the lease, Denami Holdings, or their name's exactly right. Denami Holdings. They are in the process now of purchasing that for affordable housing. So that's why you'll note on this thing, this sale of these 2 lots, and the sale was offered for 120% of the appraised value of them. We have no uses for the lot. But we made sure that we made the sale contingent on them closing and obtaining the Habitat property. That has to happen first. If that happens, then obviously those 2 lots will be necessary for them to complete the affordable housing. Affordable housing is something we need here. That location, again, has been identified and was planned to do by Habitat for a long time. So this property that was given to us by the county, we're getting for the taxpayers the 120% of the appraised value. It's contingent on them closing and going forward with it. So I bring this contract forward to you for you to approve tonight, so we can do the conditional sale of those 2 lots to them, so they can further the project if they obtain the land.
Mr. Licouris, do we know what the buyer's planning to build on those 2 lots?
affordable housing. Affordable housing project.
Okay.
I believe there's a lot of Habitat for Humanity lots that all surrounds it, so whatever they can do with it, they want to build affordable housing there. And that's, again, been the plan for that piece of property for many, many, many years, so.
Thank you. Any public comments on this item? No? Roll call, please.
I'll just, Mayor.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, that's
please.
right. I have some, my firm has some involvement with the property, so I'm going to recuse myself from the vote.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
We need a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Now roll call.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. Next item is item number 21, request to settle administrative fine or lien on, at 606 Lincoln Avenue, court enforcement. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. You've seen my report. This request to settle a perfected code enforcement lien concerns the property located at 606 Lincoln Avenue. We have violations going back to February of 2006, fairly serious violations concerning some safety issues, perhaps above and beyond what we sometimes see in these, which are, overgrown grass and pools and the like. In any event, the requesting party has purchased the property and, according to the application, is attempting to rehabilitate it such that it would be appropriate for proper habitation by a family. What family that is, I don't know. And she's also indicated in the application that the investment value of the property is substantially hampered and in fact, probably non-existent. Based on the facts of the case, I've recommended settlement of $3,075, which comprises $2,500 in principal, plus the administrative costs incurred by the city of $575. And I've recommended, as I ordinarily do, that the party be given 60 days to pay the amount, and that if that amount is not paid, the liens would revert to their original amount. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? No questions. Are there any public comments on this item? No. I'd like to say that I'm very glad that Mr. Marstrong is planning to fix up this place and make it livable again. And I agree with the recommendation of the city attorney. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, or motion to accept the amount offered, or the amount recommended to settle.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. Thank you. Item 22, Resolution 2016-09, Application 16-12, Conditional Use for Gathering with Jesus Incorporated.
This is Resolution 2016-09, a resolution of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, approving application number 16-10, requesting a conditional use to allow operation of a daycare facility on property located at 39938 U.S. Highway 19 North in the Highway Business Zoning District, HB, providing for findings, providing for conditions, and providing for an effective date. It's Resolution 2016-09 by title only. This proceeding is quasi-judicial. At such a hearing, the Commission acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. It is not the Commission's function in such a hearing to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. The Commission is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented and apply those findings of fact to establish criteria contained in the code in order to make a legal decision on the application before it. This Commission may only consider evidence that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If that evidence demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria, then the Commission is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. Conversely, if that evidence demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria, then the Commission is required by law to find against the applicant. All witnesses must give their testimony under oath. All persons testifying must give their name and address for the record. Excuse me. All testimony and questioning must address matters that are relevant and material to the issues under consideration. City staff will present its testimony and evidence first. The applicant will then have an opportunity to cross-examine city staff. The applicant will then present its testimony to witnesses, and city staff will have an opportunity to cross-examine the applicant's witnesses. Members of the public in opposition to the application will be given the opportunity to speak. After all members of the public in opposition have spoken, members of the public in support of the application will have the opportunity to speak. Each member of the public, as always, is limited to 4 minutes of testimony. The applicant will then have the opportunity to make a closing argument or summary, after which city staff will be given the opportunity to make a closing argument or summary. Finally, the commission will consider the matter. Commissioners may ask questions of witnesses. A motion will be made and a vote will be taken. At this point, I'd ask for the commission to disclose any ex parte communications on the application.
None.
Seeing none, I'd ask for those who intend to testify tonight to please stand and be sworn. Is our applicant here, Heather?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. With that, we'll turn it over to the staff presentation.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Heather Erwiller. I am your Planning and Zoning Director. And again, this request is for a conditional use approval for the operation of a daycare facility in the Highway Business District located at 39918 US Highway 19. Currently, the applicant who is seeking this particular conditional use has an existing church on the front portion of the plaza where this daycare will be located in the kind of to the side and the rear. So there is an existing business in that facility that's going to actually be administering this daycare facility. A little bit of background about the particular project. The subject property was developed with a strip center. The strip center has been on the property since the 1980s. The current tenants include Dog Lovers, Ultimate Dog Store, Sherwin-Williams Paint Store, The Gatherings Church, and among others. The property is adjacent to Cody's Roadhouse, and it's also adjacent to Reload, the new gun range facility. The proposed conditional use is to allow the development of a daycare. The daycare will be sponsored by the Gatherings of Jesus Church, and the property is located in the Highway Business District. Daycare is not a use by right within this district, so as a result of it not being used by right, they have to come through the conditional use process. It is allowed, but only with your approval through that conditional use process, where we basically answer the question, is it a compatible use with the surrounding neighborhood? And so to give a little bit more information, the proposed daycare is located at the rear of the plaza. The plaza has ample parking for the proposed use. The daycare facility is not considered a school of general education. Therefore, the distance criteria for establishments serving alcohol, which you have Cody's Roadhouse there that does serve alcohol, does not apply in this particular case. There are no adult businesses located within 1,000 feet of the proposed daycare facility, and the proposed use appears to be compatible with the existing business area. There is some residential in the area because to the rear of this plaza, there is an existing mobile home park. The proposed daycare facility is appropriate for the property and is consistent with the existing uses on the proposed site. Again, the daycare facility is affiliated with the church located in the plaza. The applicant has proposed an outdoor play area. The play area will be in an open area to the rear of the plaza, adjacent to the warehouses that are behind this plaza. The daycare will have no detrimental impact to the adjacent mobile home park residents. The proposed use is not in conflict with the goals, objectives, and policies of our comprehensive plan. The conditional use will occur on a developed site, so there's no environmental or historical resources that will be impacted. There's no change to the existing level of service required to accommodate this proposed use, and the subject property is a developed site that is adequately served by our public facilities. As a result of all of the criteria, meeting all the criteria for a conditional use, staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2016-09, requesting a conditional use for the operation of a daycare facility at 39938 US Highway 19 North in the Highway Business Zoning District, subject to the following conditions. And there are 2 conditions. The outdoor play area must be fenced and supervised at all time by a staff member of the daycare facility, and a building permit or approval from the city building department must be obtained for any changes or alterations made to the building. And Planning and Zoning Board did hear this application on March 21st, 2016. They discussed the relevant issues, the compatibility with the neighborhood, the concerns of its proximity to reload and how that would be mitigated, any noise issues that might arise from this particular type of use. And the planning board did approve this application with the 2 conditions outlined by staff in a 6-0 vote. And if you have any questions, I can answer those questions for you.
I have a question to ask. The daycare does not consider to be a school, but is there a restriction on the number of children can actually be in that area?
The restriction for daycares are based on the spacing criteria that the state sets up, and the applicant can actually speak to how many children they plan on accommodating, but they're limited by that state permit that they have to obtain. So as a result of that, we don't necessarily look at the number of children because there's a state agency that actually does the licensing for them.
Thank you. Any question? Yes.
Thank you. I just have, what would the hours of operation be?
Again, the applicant can actually give you a little bit better idea of what the actual hours of operation, number of children, those types of specifics.
Ms. Spencer? No.
At this time, I'd ask for the applicant to please come forward and make his presentation.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Chuck Stewart. I reside at 4526 Serenity Trail in Palm Harbor, and I'm the executive pastor of the gathering. We found that in the area where we'll be serving, there's a great need for daycare centers for children 3 to 5. Now, our facility will have the capability to house 39 children at the very maximum. We don't really expect it to be maximum all the time, but many of the daycare centers around here already are at maximum fulfillment. So we think it'd be a great opportunity for us to be involved with the community and helping unwed mothers with a program to house their children as they work, and we've got a plan to have the daycare center's play facility completely enclosed and fenced with a vinyl fence and a play area out there. The mobile home park that was addressed was basically probably 100 yards from the back of this facility. There's an industrial space behind the plaza, and then the mobile home park is behind that. We don't see any conflict with Cody's because our hours are probably going to be 7:30 to 5 or 6. We haven't determined that quite yet, but we'll have early child care and then late pickups as well. I'll be happy to address any questions you might have.
Mr. Stewart, are there any questions you wish to ask of the city staff?
No.
Fair enough.
Next question,
please.
Do you agree with the 2 conditions was recommended by the staff?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. At this time, I'd ask any members of the public wishing to speak in opposition to the application to please come forward. Seeing none, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in support of the application? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to make any kind of closing statement, any kind of summary? Answering in the negative, does the staff wish to make any closing statement or summary?
No.
Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you for commission consideration.
Thank you. Any comments or any questions? No. The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alahouzes?
Yes. Thank you. Congratulations. Moving on to item number 23, Resolution 2016-13, authorized signatures.
Resolution 2016-13, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, designating certain officials as authorized signatories on negotiable instruments of the City of Tarpon Springs. It's Resolution 2016-13 by title only.
It's pretty straightforward. Any questions? No. I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner
Technically, just a matter of technicality, you need to ask for public comment on the item before you vote, please.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments? Nothing. Okay. Roll call, please.
We'll start again. Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. We're moving on to item number 24. Approval to proceed with the street name change. Mr. Licouris.
Another benefit of having some people come back on the board that's been here a long time, this is another item that's been talked about for a while, and it was in relation to when the Lowe's project was going, when the Cantonis family was dealing with the Lowe's people to bring about the Lowe's and the road. This is a renaming of a road that was developed, that's presently called Huey, and the letter that you see from Mr. Cantonis with a request to name it after Michael G. Cantonis. This street is a street with no addresses on it, so you don't deal with the issues that are probably the biggest issues you deal with changing a street name with people with addresses on it. As you can see by the attached on there, it's well deserving of being named, and what I'm asking for tonight is approval to have Heather, who would take it forward to bring it to you formally, would start the process that we have in place to bring that forward to you and to rename that road. If you look at where that road lines up, it's called Huey, although if you look at the old maps, Huey comes out a little farther down. It's kind of really an extension that comes from Live Oak and around that way, so it's not affecting anything. It's not affecting any people or property owners. And this is someone who we heard earlier has done a lot for this town, and the family has been involved. So I think it's appropriate and meets all the criteria. And with your approval tonight, Heather will go forward with the formal process to bring it before you and to perpetuate the name change.
Commissioner Panther.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mark. If you already said this, but they are going to cover the costs, right?
Yeah, they are.
Of all the whatever fees we have.
What?
Yes.
What would those costs be?
But they had offered the sign, but I think when I bring back to you the cost of the sign, I think it's going to be so minimal we may not want to do that.
I mean,
but we can talk about that in the process, but they did offer any costs that are incurred. But right now, it's 2 street signs that we'll probably by that time have capability of making ourselves. So,
yeah, I mean,
but the family did offer.
I see that in the letter, but I would just say.
But I wasn't. When we come back with the item and do it formally, I'm probably not going to bring that back forward because it's going to be such a minimal in-house cost.
Okay.
That's
what I was going to say is that I think we just, I mean.
But he's bringing it up because they did put in there.
No, I saw that, and I can appreciate that. That's nice of him to offer. But I mean, if we're going to honor the man, I say we incur the cost. Yeah. Okay.
Mrs. Larry, have any
No
comments? No. I'd like to say a few things about Mr. Cantonis. I had the pleasure to know Mr. Cantonis for many years. He was a sponge buyer, and he was buying sponges from everyone down at the sponge docks. As a matter of fact, he was purchasing sponges for my dad when he had the sponge boat as well. He was an excellent citizen. He was a philanthropist. He helped many, many people. We heard earlier from Mrs. Anita Protos that he actually helped with our library as well. He financed many learning institutions, the hospitals, including our hospital. At that time, it was called the Helen Ellis. He helped many churches throughout the country, including St. Nicholas Cathedral here in Tarpon Springs. He helped many individuals. He helped our sister city, Simi, that's where he was born. He helped many nursing homes. And I think Mr. Cantonis deserves this honor, and I support that. Any public comments on this item? See none. Do we have any more comments from the board? No. I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Licouris? You got it. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of Board of Adjustments and Appeal. We have two options here. Option one is to move the current alternate member, Cindy Sanger, to fill the unexpired term of Chris Alajuzas. This term expires October 31st, 2017, and then appoint a person from the list that we have here below. The other option is to appoint a person to fill the unexpired term, again, from the list that we have below here. We also received a letter from Commissioner Sieber. She recommends that you all have the memo there. You know her recommendation. So I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Tarpon, would you rather you select option one or option two?
I guess I'm fine with option one, and I would appoint Laurel Whitney as the alternate.
Okay. I also prefer option one, and I will appoint Mrs. Whitney as well.
Same.
Same?
Same.
Looks like we've got unanimous here.
Ready.
I need a motion to that effect.
I make a motion to move the current alternate member, Cindy Sanger, to fill the unexpired term of Chris Alajuzas. This term, October 31st, 2017, and appoint Laurel Whitney to fill the current vacant alternate position.
Second.
Are there any commission comments? No. I need to ask for any public comments on this item. None. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alajuzas?
Yes. Item number 26 is the appointment to the Heritage Preservation Board. We have the same scenario. We have option one and option two. Option one, of course, is to move the current alternate member, Vasilia Protomatis, to fill the unexpired term of Athena Sardulias. This term will expire May 31st, 2018, and appoint a person from the list, or we can do appointment. Option number two is to appoint someone from the list. I will start with Commissioner's Slattery.
Option one.
Thank you. Would you tell us which one do you select from the list?
Carrie Page.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Option one as well, but I would choose, I think it's Tekoa Bean.
I'll also select option one and select Carrie Page. Vice Mayor.
Option one's fine. I like Mr. McElwain, though.
Okay, looks like we have Carrie Page. It has more votes, right? I need a motion for that.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? No. Are there any more commission comments on that? No. I entertain a motion.
There's a motion on the floor. In a
It is?
second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor Alajuzas?
Yes. Item number 27 is the appointment to Tarpon Springs Housing Authority. We have recommendation to appoint any of the list to fill the unexpired term of Robin Sanger. This term expires November 1st, 2017, and then appoint any of the two people of the list to fill the vacant position. That will expire November 1st, 2019. Commissioner Panther.
Well, obviously, we're going to both give them a slot. It's just which one to put them in. Going by, I guess, who. I know I go by application dates sometimes when I can't make a decision otherwise. So I would say to put Miss Malone to fill the unexpired term of Robin Sanger, and put Henry Wellman to fill the vacant position that would expire on November 1st, 2019.
Commissioner Lowry?
I agree with that.
Same thing? Vice Mayor Tarpon? Same thing? I also agree with that as well. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second. Are there any public comments on that? Okay, do we have any more commission comments? No. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Terapany?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. That concludes our agenda. Staff comments, Chief?
No comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Just very briefly, I know that both Mayor Alhus and Commissioner Slattery have been here before, but I just wanted to briefly remind that I am available for your questions on sunshine, ethics, public records, and the like. I think when you all both sat before, those educational requirements were aspirational. They've since become statutorily mandated. I'm sure you probably get a whole bunch of stuff in the mail about that, but please contact my office if we can be of assistance that way.
Thank you. Mr. Licouris?
Just to remind everybody about Touch a Truck on Saturday, 10 to 2. Also meeting our tradition as a Tree City USA, we will be giving away the trees, which are very popular, plus all the departments, and of course, the best thing of the day, the clerk's office Sundays, the best Sundays in the county. So we encourage everybody to come out and see all the things that get everything done in the town, our trucks and our people and our programs. And also, as Carrie said, we'll be having a cake and a little celebration for the 100 years of the library right at the same time. So it's going to be a good event on Saturday.
Thank you. City Clerk, please.
I'd just like to give my condolences to the former mayor and to the Archie family on the passing of Mrs. Archie.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Board comments. Commissioner Slattery.
None. It's good to be back.
Commissioner Panther.
I just want to say thank you to all the people that worked on the Live Oak project and got it done so quickly. I thought it was going to be 2 months, to be honest with you, because of all the history there, but it was done very, very quickly. And even Mark, and I forget if it was our staff or one of the contractors, made a way where we can exit through the dog park without being trapped in. So that was very nice of you. Thank you.
You will, at a later time, we're going to get him here because he's, I forget which city, because we stole 3 people from 3 different cities from a different area. He's one we stole. I forget which city we stole him from, but guy's name's Tony Manello. He's the second in command to Tom Function. Just to give an example real fast of his case, this was a case where we had to see if we could open it up. He found out for me that they were going to start construction the next day, and we couldn't do it. We informed Commissioner Banther probably couldn't do it, but he thought about it while he was at home that night and said he doesn't like saying no, so he went out there 7:30 in the morning, looked at the situation, and saw an easy solution that nobody had seen, of opening up the gate to give an access to those residents and not have them blocked during the whole construction time. So I believe that's one case to show this is going to be a very valuable employee in the future, somebody who it was easy. They're going to start construction. We can't open it up for residents. Easy go, but had thought about it and the inconvenience overnight, came out the next day and found the solution, which is what we're trying to instill in our people. So Tony will come to a meeting on something I know coming up, and you can all meet him because he's somebody who really, if you ask him something, he's going to really think it out and try to get it done for the citizens. So he's a good hire for us.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to, in light of that, I just want to say how appreciative I am of our staff and how many good things that we're doing in the city. I mean, it is so visible to not only the residents, but people who visit our city and people in surrounding areas too, just see, what Tarpon Springs is doing, and I'm just proud of that, and I'm really proud of our staff. Our staff is so easy to work with on all levels and all departments, and it's something that's definitely been recognized. And I just want to say what a great event Touch a Truck has turned out to be. I mean, I remember when it first started a couple years ago, now that I have a little boy who just loves trucks and equipment and stuff like that. I mean, to couple it with the staffs or with the clerk Sundays and giving away the trees and just everything that the event is, it's just a great example of how we utilize, the resources that we have at hand to make such a great event with just so very little. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight we had the pleasure to appoint several people on 3 different advisory boards, and I appreciate that, to volunteer to serve our community, and I'm going to ask our city attorney that provide some training for the St. County law for them as well.
We will. They are required to view a videotape that was produced by former City Attorney Yakavone prior to his retirement. And that, I believe, comes with an admonition, and we'll certainly make it at the board meetings themselves to please follow up with any questions they have on that.
Thank you. I also like to offer my condolences and my deepest sympathy to the former mayor, Archie, and his family for the passing of his mother, Miss Elizabeth Archie. And I believe the viewing is Friday evening at 6 p.m.
6 to 8 at Dobie's.
6
to 8 at Dobie's.
6 to 8. So with that concludes our regular session and is adjourned at 8:37.
You can put a light on that clock, huh, Mayor?
Yeah.
I hear that.
You got to pound a little bit.
Second period.